All right. We're doing another one of these. I made another one. I made a tier list video not that long ago, but I changed a couple of placements. Hopefully, this one is not as long. I think an hour long. It's a little bit too much, but yeah, right into it. These two, top two, non-debatable. I don't think it's possible to debate these two are the best two characters in the game. Base Vegeta is the best point. Z-Broly is the best anchor. That's my logic for putting them right there. Um, Base Vegeta has outstanding screen control. He does not need a beam to play neutral, which a lot of characters in this game really like some kind of assist to help them. Base Vegeta really doesn't need one. He has just already great tools to control the screen by himself. But then the assist, he doesn't really need much more than a beam itself to mix you up. So he doesn't have a reliance on assists, but he can abuse them very effectively. So I think that's what makes him the main two things that make him the best point in the game right now. Z-Broly, on the other hand, he doesn't really get all that much off assists. So the best anchor role would go to him. He has, like Base Vegeta, outstanding control of the screen, but also Limit Break will naturally buff him. It solves his his weakness of having low damage. Limit Break will solve that. Spark will solve that. Having a meter from Limit Break will solve that. So I think he's naturally just a really good anchor. Those two I think are just they speak for themselves. So next is S tier. This one's a little bit weird because I don't really have a specific order for this one, but I do think generally this is how I'm thinking about it. Blueku, as said before, he has unreactable command grab, he has 50/50s, he has EX shoulder and neutral, which is actually very strong. He has SSJ Goku Ki Blast, he has the Air Ki Blast, the Magneto JS, which is very good. He has and I know the dive kick's not really the same as Goku Black. It's not as good of an angle, but the dive kick is really fast and it has good frame data. So he has the dive kick for neutral. He has projectile invincible lariats to scale like mediums. He has a lot of very good things. I think his real main weakness is that neutral in general, he kind of struggles a little bit without a beam, but because he really only needs a beam, he's just a very good team player. He can give a lot of people really good DHC stuff. He has great staggers, right? Great buttons. He's just a really solid character. Bardock. Everyone knows Bardock. He has the auto combo, which, you know, smacks you out of the air if you block a super dash. That has like a lot of priority over other buttons. The second hit that drags him down makes it really easy to convert. That auto combo really carries him as a character. It gets you out of a lot of things that other characters really can't get out of. Like you can actually threaten people who try to 6M you because of that jab, and you can get a conversion off of it. A lot of characters will have to sort of work for that kind of thing. Bardock, he can do that. He can auto combo your cross up, right? He can do a whole bunch of things with that auto combo. Not a lot of characters are really allowed to do, and he can do it too. But we'll go on him later. The Lariat is a really powerful neutral tool, and maybe if you only really played this game, you won't really know just sort of how good Bardock's Lariat is. But in terms of fighting games, the distance that move goes in how short of a span of time, and how safe it is, that's a really powerful tool. It's one of, in my opinion, it's one of the best neutral tools I've ever seen in a fighting game, or at least a 3-on-3 game. It's just really strong. You basically get to just command the entire horizontal area in front of you. And if you have an assist, that's free advantage for you. You really can't punish it in most cases. So he's very good. And then on top of that, he has, you know, the good buttons. He has good staggers. He gets TODs very well. He has Bardock B. I think Bardock is probably the best mid in the game because of that assist. And not to say that assist is necessarily like the best in the game, because it's really not. But the fact that he can facilitate that kind of support, and also does not need, he doesn't really mix, so he doesn't really need a mix assist, but at the same time supplies one. You really just slap on Bardock B beam and that's your shell, and that's a really good shell for like every single team almost. So Bardock's probably the best mid for those reasons. He doesn't even need like a neutral assist because he has the Lariat, so most of the time Bardock is a really good mid. Probably the best mid. Kid Buu is another really good mid, and I think in some cases he would be a better mid for certain teams than Bardock. He has really good support, right? The A assist that gives characters that don't get mix-ups. That shit is really good. But it's hard to convert off of. It's hard to do like combo stuff with it. So then on the other hand, he has B assist, which is just a regular airstrike assist. He has C assist, which is like the best C beam, I think, right? It's the fastest and it has the most, the biggest hitbox. So he has the best C beam. He just has really good support. His DHC is really good. You can give people like setups off their supers and stuff like that. His damage is not really that bad, but I think his damage and meter gain are not his main selling points. His main selling points are his assist, his super, his gumball that gives you solo plus frames. The fact that you don't really need much more than a beam to ever mix people with that character. The fact that his normals are really good at dealing with reflect, which is basically it's like sort of breaking the game, right? You're ignoring a system mechanic. So Kid Buu's very strong. Probably the second best mid or the best, tied with Bardock. Yamcha would be the best anchor, tied with Z Broly. He has really good support, right? He has Yamcha A, which is a really good assist, and he has a beam. So he has the only 2 assists you'll ever really need on a top tier team. He has good neutral. He has the EX Lariat that you can solo combo off of. He has great poking Ki Blasts. His Ki Blasts kind of like are really good at poking. You like test the waters with them, and then they super dash and you just 2-8 the shit. He's a great anchor because his limit break solves his low damage problem, and he doesn't really need assists to get mix-ups or pressure because of the Rekka. So he doesn't really need that much help, and even if he does have help, he does have stuff with assists. So the fact that he's just a great team player also plays into the fact. So these two would probably be the best anchors in the game right now. And his staggers are really good. His frame data is amazing. His buttons on block are really good. UI is fucking... UI is annoying. UI is really annoying to fight for a lot of people. He has an even bigger jab than Bardock. I think UI probably has the best auto combo in the game right now. It's a massive jab, really good hitbox, and then the second hit is a teleport, and it kills lows. It avoids lows. That's really strong. It's basically like Bardock's, but actually better. So he sort of breaks the game with that. It's kind of like Bardock does. And then aside from that, he has stuff like the EX flip, where that's frame 4 invincible. That's very good because you could steal vanish turns using that move. You can force people to respect things that you're normally the one that's supposed to respect. He has a lot of DPs, right? He has the counter super, he has regular DP, shoulder DP. He has really good damage. He has great neutral. I think really the only thing he doesn't have that much of is like mix-ups, but even then, if you have a proper assist, you can do super dash plus assist 50-50. You can do stuff with like Kid Buu assist. You can do curse stuff with the flip, right? You can do a lot of stuff to supplement that. So he's just really good. He's a complete character. I will say, I don't think he really needs a buff or a nerf, because His main weakness, quote unquote, to me, is his assists are not that great. And I know people really like to say UIA is really good, and like his B is not that bad, and his C is not that bad. But let's compare to the support level of these three right here. He's not really on the level of most of these characters in this tier of support value. So I think it's safe to say his assists, at least for this tier, are not that good. They're not very strong assists. But he is a really good character. I think I think he's a kind of character that's like interchangeable on which position he could be on the team. He could be really any position, and it would work fine. He doesn't really need help, right? But he can kind of abuse assist just fine because of like TODs and combos and stuff. So yeah, UI's really good. Base Goku. Base Goku's a little bit of an odd case because he feels very, very honest for a top tier character, and I call him top tier because I think he just has a lot of great things. He has the very hard to react to light grab, if not unreactable, which does not waste your sliding knockdown like a lot of other ones like Blueku's and Z-Broly's. So that's very good. You can combo after and still keep your sliding. You have the stagger game. He has really good buttons. He has really high damage. He has base QA, which is a really good assist because of how IAD Fuzzy works. It's a one-hit assist. It forces them to stand block, and you could just force them to take... Get the fuck out of here, bug. Force them to take like an IAD Fuzzy or something, which is very strong. His B assist is also really good on select teams, right? Like to kill Sage uses it with Z-Broly. He sort of acts like there's two anchors where base Goku gives Z-Broly limit break or something, and that's pretty good. And his C assist is a regular ass beam. It's not that great, but he has good assists all around. He has really good neutral because his Ki Blasts are the same as the other Gokus, but then at the same time he also has the 2S and 3S and 1S like Kid Buu Stomps. They're literally like Ki Blast versions of the Kid Buu Stomps. And then aside from that, he has the little mini Spirit Ball. He has the what else is like a neutral tool with that character? I don't know, but he has really good neutral. He has a lot of really just great traits about him. I think he's kind of self-explanatory. Oh yeah, here's the other one. His level 2 on Anchor does the same damage as level 3, so he saves bar a lot. And he has Spirit Bomb, which is really good for damage output for the team. So he's just a really good team player right now. He's very good at finding just very strong team synergy. Team Gohan. He just gets really stupid damage and meter, and he's a good point character. He's kind of similar to Blueku and how he functions and what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to just get in, be a bruiser, be aggressive, get a bunch of 50-50s and kill you, and he doesn't have a beam, so he just is forced to use Ki Blast Lariat the whole time for neutral. But Team Gohan has EX legs in neutral, which Blueku does not have. So Team Gohan's kind of just like baby Blueku or something. He's pretty good. He has a DP. That's one thing that he has that I think nobody else in this tier has. Oh wait, you have one. That not a lot of characters have. He has a DP, and he has a light DP that scales like a medium, so you could TOD people off of just a random ass anti-air. That's really good. His assists are okay. His assists are pretty good. He has a DP, and he has honestly a pretty decent C assist, so he's fine. His level 1 does really good damage. I think it's like the second highest damage level 1 in the game. So that's cool. That's about it. He's just a very strong character. Majin Buu. I main the character. Of course, I'm going to have the bias and put him there, but the reasons I'm putting him there. He gets strong meter gain, strong damage. You can consistently 2-touch people now, which he didn't used to do before. Buffs recently made him a little bit less reliant on assists for combos. I'm saying something wrong. Okay, whatever. He gets strong meter gain. He gets strong damage. He can abuse assists very well if he has resources. He can abuse resources like meter and assist very well. He has good block strings, kind of the same way Trunks does, where the frame data is not actually that particularly good, but he gets a lot of like RPS stuff on block that's good. His Oki game is really strong, right? He has fat throw on sliding knockdown. He has great level 3 Oki. He actually gets a 50-50 on level 3 mid-screen, which is something that a lot of characters can do. He's the only character in the game that can restore solo blue life off his level 3, aside from 21, but 21's is non-comparable, because 21 does like 500 or something, and Majin Buu gets like 15% in blue life, so he has that going for him. He has very strong neutral. He has really good Ki Blasts. His ground Ki Blasts are the same speed as Teen Gohan's. If you didn't know that already, they're both 11 frame startup, and they have 4 of them. And his air Ki Blasts shoot out like a shotgun, so you can cover a lot of angles. So his neutral is really good, and he has like air heavies, cover a lot of space. So he has a lot going for him. That's why I put him there. Yeah, Janemba. Then we're moving on to A+. Janemba's really, really good, and he's very slept on. And I used to say he was a hidden S tier, but because I wanted to keep my S tier a little bit smaller, recently he's not in the S tier anymore, but he's still really, really slept on. He's a really good character. Just to list, right? He has great staggers. He has really good buttons. He has pretty decent command grabs. He has really good level 3 Oki in the corner. He gets good damage. He has great screen control even by himself. Right, he doesn't need any assist to do anything, but at the same time, even when he has assist, he gets really good stuff, like he gets a 50-50 off a beam for basically nothing. You just do teleport. He has pretty decent assists himself. His A assist is like Gotenks and SSJ Vegeta had an abortion. His B assist is just a regular ass strike assist. His C assist is actually really good. It's one of those 50 frame blockstone ones, but the hitbox is also really, really big. So you can kind of like catch people in the air with it sometimes and get extra frame advantage. And it has a lot of pushback, so you can get really weird, like cross-up fake-out situations. He just has really good, really good assists. He's a good character, man. You should play Janemba. Everybody should play Janemba. GT Goku. He's still really, really good, guys. He's got 9 frame EX Lariat. He's got the full screen tracking EX Rasengan Ball. He has the beams. The beams are really good. He gets Spirit Bomb. He has mix-ups on block still with the Power Pole. He has GT Beam Assist. I think GT Assist carried him above Cell, because that assist is really, really good. I mean, really all beams are really, really good, but GT's is special because it covers up tech, covers that whole jumping degree. So GT's still really, really good. He's still a fantastic character. Cell is a little bit weird because I think Cell is in a weird spot where he's like really good, but also like nobody wants to play him for a couple of reasons. And I think the reasons are his neutral is like subpar compared to all these neutral gods up here, except for maybe you, right? Because he basically only has beam and a couple of good normals, and sometimes you do some anti-air flips. What's that called? Perfect attack. And get a TOD off that. He doesn't really have a lot of things to use in neutral, which in the current meta, neutral is really, really important because of how buffed the defensive options are now, right? Like with Snap dead and with sliding knockdown still the same, you get reset to neutral a lot. So having good neutral is very important, and he sort of doesn't really have that without assists. But I think that's the reason a lot of people aren't really playing him. Another reason is his own assists His assists are not actually really that good. His A assist is beam, and it has a cool SSJ Vegeta angle, so you can kind of use it defensively. But that's probably his best assist. His B assist is a generic strike assist, but it has like no hit stun, and it's kind of hard to convert off of. And his C assist, I don't think is worth running from what I see, from what I think about it. I don't think the block stun is really. I just don't think it's really worthwhile, like compared to his A assist. The cooldown is a little bit much for what it does, right? Like it air tracks, but it's not really all that great. Maybe I'm just biased. I like the 50 frame C assist. But he's still a great character. He has like Blue Ku dive kick with the EX perfect attack. He has great staggers. He has very high damage. He deals with reflect very well. He has the the auto combo, and he has the 2M that both deal with reflect very good. And he can work with a lot of characters, so he's definitely still strong. Trunks, I only have him above 21 because of 3 things. Assists, which 21 has decent assists, don't get me wrong, but Trunks has a beam, which means he fits on a lot more teams more easily. 2, he deals with reflect better because he has the sliding normal, 2M, and change the future, so you can kind of get decent double reflect strings in, whereas 21 doesn't really get that very much. And he has better knockdown game, because even though 21 gets good knockdowns off level 3, she doesn't get the knockdown until she gets to level 3. When Trunks gets a sliding knockdown, he gets the change the future Oki, the change the future meaty, that is that's basically just sliding knockdown 2.0. He gets a lot of really good stuff off that. He does, even without the mix, he sort of he gets good pressure off a knockdown in a way 21 doesn't get, because she's forced to tech chase unless she does a level 3. To contrast, he doesn't really have good level 3 Oki himself, unless you get really, really good at EX flip mix-ups and good positioning. But he gets great sliding knockdown stuff. And another big reason he's above 21 is because he can invalidate a lot of characters neutral with just 5S and change the future. That's all he needs. Because the 5S eats Ki Blast, and the change the future eats Ki Blast, and the change the future has a gigantic hitbox that moves him forward. And the 5S is full screen in 15 frames, like a Yamcha Lariat, but even less committal. So he has really, really strong neutral. He also gets pretty good damage, especially in the corner. But yeah, so he's got a lot of good things going for him that make him a good anchor. And on mid, he gets good stuff with assists, right? He doesn't need like any block stun to mix people. He can get stuff with like 20 frames. It's insane for a little bit of execution. So he's just a good character for most teams. Excuse me, I'm tired. 21. I think she outdoes Trunks at a lot of things, actually, because she has better staggers. She has, I think, better mix-ups generally, because of low 2L and that kind of thing. She has great level 3 Oki. She can restore her own health off the level 3 Oki. That's pretty good. She has less committal neutral, you could say. Even though Trunks can invalidate a lot of characters with his neutral, 21 can sort of just zone. Trunks like forces himself in with the big ass change the future hitbox. 21 sits back and does 2S and just forces you to come to her, kind of like Yamcha, but she doesn't have the EX Lariat for it. And she also has other things, like she has the orb, which she can use plus assist, or she can jail into vanish. She has the anti-air grab, which is good for just stopping people from approaching her. She has dive kick, which is useful after like a block super dash in the air, especially. She has really good normals, which I say as a neutral tool because the JM, for example, is really good at stopping super dashes. Yeah, so she's a great character. She even has like pretty decent assists. Like her C assist, all of her assists are really good. So 21's great. 18. It's kind of odd because she sort of is like she needs to set up before she gets going. She's good though. She has a lot of really good things. She has an unreactable grab, which I said is very strong. She has a low hitting 5L, which is 6 frames, and that's good for mix-ups. She has great level 3 Oki. She has actually pretty decent neutral. Her key blasts on the ground are really good. Her Destructo Disc does a lot of chip damage, and it's not very punishable on whiff from my experience. 17 in neutral, you can do the EX and stop all their assists, and I think that's really good. When she gets a knockdown, she could use the EX 17 again and get Hellzone kind of thing, which I think again is very good. She has decent anti-reflect strings because of I think 5M, right? I think 5M gives her anti-reflect. She makes her own plus frames because she can call M17 and get a mix-up with him, so she only really needs not that much to mix. She has barrier assist. Barrier assist is really good. Her B assist is pretty decent. Her C assist is alright, but I think these two are much more worth running, depending on the team. And she gets decent damage as well. So she's a character sort of similar to Majin Buu, where she's greedy, but once she gets going, once she has her resources, once she has her meter, once she has her assists, she's very strong. She's very hard to stop once she starts, if that makes sense. Super Broly. Super Broly is a little bit weird because he's really good, but he's very non-traditional. Super Broly's good for a much different reason than a lot of these characters are good, because he doesn't have like 50-50s. All his mix-ups are reactable. But Super Broly succeeds where you're failing. If the opponent is already failing and losing the match, Super Broly's winning. If that makes sense. Let me explain. So you're on block with Super Broly. All his mix-ups are technically reactable, right? You have the grab. You can react to that. The stomps, you don't have to react to anything. Just sit there and block. All of his stuff is sort of solved by just sitting there and blocking. But at the same time, sitting there and blocking is very scary against this character, because even though you can technically react to the grab, it's just fast enough that it'll often catch you sleeping at the wheel, right? He has big normals, so he'll punish you reflecting a lot. If he does punish you with the 5M, you will die. He explodes you. He does really high damage. He's actually good, kind of similar to Vegito. Well, I'll talk about Vegito later. Right, he has 2-6S. To stop you in neutral. He even presses you in neutral, right? The 2-6S has armor, and it has Key Blast armor, and it has that angle. He wants to make you afraid. That's his whole deal. When you have the advantage, when you have like a character lead, and you have no reason to fear Broly on block, then he's not going to be scary. But if his team has 3 characters and your team has 2, you're going to want to reflect more, you're going to want to mash more, you're going to want to jump out of those staggers more, you're going to want to DP more, and he'll punish you for all of them. So that's where he succeeds, right? That's where I think he's a good character. Gotenks is still good. Anyone who thinks Gotenks is trash doesn't play Gotenks. He has one really disgusting broken thing right now, and that's the fact that you can do the EX spin, cartwheel, Beyblade, tornado, cyclone, hurricane, tsunami, hurricane Katrina, and you can keep snap mix. You can get a 50-50 off that using an assist. So that's very powerful for half a bar. He has great neutral, right? His Key Blasts are good. He has a beam that he can fake out, which not a lot of characters can do. He has the Beyblade, which loses to Super Dash now, but it's very good for anti-zoning because it's invincible to Key Blasts. He has the 6S, which is actually a really good neutral tool because it launches him forward, and it has a hitbox, right? So it's like It's almost like how when 18 calls the Ki Blast behind her and she runs behind the 17 Ki Blast to get in. It's kind of what that reminds me of. He has solo plus frames, right? 236H, even though it's only +1 now. That's still good. He has Ghost Oki. He gets pretty decent damage. He's a short character that has decent anti-reflect strings. So that's pretty fucking fun. He gets mix-ups, right? He just has everything. He has a lot of really, really good traits. He even has really good support value. I think really Gotenks at this point feels like a sort of different, but in a way he's sort of designed like a worse Kid Buu, right? Because his A assist is just lockdown, but it has less block stun than Kid Buu. They have a strike assist, B assist, and they have a C beam. They're kind of similar assist-wise and what they do for a team, but they're also functionally different because of Kid Buu. Just the way they play is a lot different. So they're kind of the same thing for a team, but different characters. I don't know. I thought that would be interesting to point out. SSJ Vegeta is really, really good, and anyone that doesn't think SSJ Vegeta is still good has not played SSJ Vegeta recently. He's really, really powerful, in my opinion. And there's one reason for that. His neutral is insane. Let's think about... I've made this comparison before. SSJ Vegeta is the old Yamcha. Yamcha and SSJ Vegeta play very similar, right? Remember, harken back to Season 1 gameplay of SSJ Vegeta, where he would just sit there spamming Ki Blast, and when they Super Dash, he would Air DP it, and randomly at some points he would use his EX Lariat, his EX Rocket Kick to just get the fuck in. They're very similar characters, Vegeta and Yamcha, right? Their whole point is to sit back, relax, and zone and Air DP you when you Super Dash with a medium starter and you probably die. And they both have an EX Lariat. So they're very similar designed in that regard. They're both sort of meant to be the same style of anchor character. But where I think Vegeta's neutral shines is that Vegeta's can be done in the air. Yamcha's being on the ground is still good, but it's a limitation. And Yamcha can't multi-spam the Ki Blast like Vegeta can. And that's really, really good, because the thing about Yamcha's is even though Yamcha has good ground Ki Blast for poking, they can also be challenged. If they have multiple ground Ki Blasts, they can really kind of fuck him over there. If they have a beam and they do it at the right time, they can really fuck him over there. But Vegeta, there's not very many characters that can cover the angle he covered, especially in Season 1. But even now, you have to run GT Beam or Z Broly or Janemba, which, you know, not a lot of people are playing Janemba right now. Z Broly even, sometimes Z Broly will whiff his Ki Blast if you're close enough to him. GT, sometimes GT Beam will whiff if you're too close. Or, no, that's not it. But let's say they do the beam, they vanish, and now they're above your head. Now you get a free punish like that. So he has a really non-contestable angle. It's not just that they play similar. It's that Vegeta's, the fact that he does it in the air, is very good for how much counterplay his neutral has. That's very good. And he also he has decent round start because of Rocket Kick, and he gets 50-50s with the Rocket Kick, and he can jail into Vanish because of his auto combo. His weakness is really just he can't deal with Reflect very well, but when your neutral is so good, you don't really have to worry about getting pushed away. Adult Gohan is still a good character, but he really kind of got shafted by the system. I think the EX leg nerf hit him hard because it really made it so that he got hurt by guard cancel a lot. He already got pretty hurt by guard cancel because he had the 2H to get most of his mix-ups anyway. But now it's double whammy because it's only +1, so even if they don't guard cancel, you're not going to get too much real pressure. You can jump out of it consistently. it's pretty long, so they can guard cancel out, they can spark out. Same for Teen Gohan, but Adult Gohan already has the problem of having a 2H to get it, like I said. He has good staggers, right? He has great normals, but they hit him with the assist regen nerf. So he could stagger for like 30 seconds and still not get any assist back for no reason other than people don't want to sit there and take Adult Gohan mix. His damage is okay, but he needs to get a level up to get it to peak performance. So he's sort of forced to be run mid. And when you do run him mid, he sort of has lackluster assists, right? His DP is a DP, but Teen Gohan has a DP. He has B assist that's 40 frame blocks them, but Yamcha has that too, and Yamcha's a better anchor, and Yamcha's is faster and probably better. He has a C beam, but Kid Buu also has a C beam, and probably like the same shit as all his other assists. You could just run Kid Buu, and he doesn't even have to level up. And he deals with Reflect arguably better, and has better neutral. So on top of getting outclassed by a lot of characters, he also just doesn't have good neutral, period. His let me rephrase. His neutral's fine, but it's very limited, right? You have the air key blast, the little thing poke like with an SJVG angle, but he only has one. He has EX legs, but that only works if you're trying to stop super dash, otherwise that's a free 2H for them. And he has a beam, but a beam is a beam, that's committal. So his neutral is very, very limited in what he's actually allowed to do. That's why I think he's not really getting played. But he is a good character. When he gets a level up, he does have great things. Like he has the great staggers, like I said. He has the fast fall, which is really, really, really good for mix-ups. His assist, even though I told you that they're outclassed, they're really not that bad. You can play him viably on a lot of teams. He's a fine character. Kefla. There's only one reason I have Kefla above Vegito, and it's the similar reason I actually moved Piccolo up to A+ in the first place. She has Hell Zone. I think Hell Zone's very strong. I think having an option to cover all the wake-up timings and get some sort of mix-up in this game is a very powerful thing to have, because the wake-ups are buffed, right? Like Snap is a delay tech now, so having something to deal with the tech options in this game is very powerful, and she can convert off it just fine, right? God, my throat hurts. She gets decent damage. She has good assists. She actually has really good A and B assist and a decent C assist. She has good buttons, really good buttons. They have great frame data and they have great priority. Her neutral is very limited. Her neutral has a couple of problems because she basically only has Ki Blast, sometimes the dash, sometimes the EX Lariat, sometimes a ball. If you use the fucking, what is it, the little thing where she holds the thing and it goes spinny, whatever the fuck that is. If you use that in neutral, you're asking for someone to come in your house and hang your ass with a rope. So that's suicide. So her neutral is kind of lacking, but aside from the neutral, she gets good damage. She has great staggers. She has, she can do super dash plus assist because of low 2L and 2M. She has overhead. She has a really cool thing. She has a low lariat like Tien, and she has an overhead, so she's actually very, very scary to block. Because she has good staggers, and she also has these little extra things to watch out for. So even if the overhead is technically pretty slow, it's very, very stressful to watch out for. And like I said, the Hell Zone. So I think she has a lot of really, really good traits about her. That's why she's above Vegito, mainly the Hell Zone. Vegito's a good character. I want to get that out of the way. He's actually a good character. He has some of the best normals in the game, especially on block. They have great frame data. They have a lot of pressure control, right? You can keep them in one spot. The jab especially, because of its multi-hit. You can get a lot of really, really stupid shit on block with Vegito. Not even necessarily mix-ups, but you can just keep them sitting there, blocking, afraid of Vegito for years on end. And the moment they finally do press a button, he gets to punish them really, really hard. That's his design. He gets to keep you there. It's kind of similar to Super Broly, like I said. He wants you to be afraid of him. When you're stalling the timer with Vegito, that's when you're winning with Vegito. And of course, he also has a couple of things that are extra, right? Let's say you're running Basku A. He can get IAD Fuzzy because he has the certain JL for it, right? He has, I think he has some other mix-ups too. He has an anti-air grab. He has the 2L that goes over lows, which is very, very good, and it scales like a medium. That's pretty great. So he has a lot of good things going for him. But yeah, so he's a good character. I think where he falls short under Kefla is just the fact that Kefla can mix you. Vegito really can't do that aside from very specific circumstances. Kefla can just super dash plus assist anytime, and she's a lot more stressful to block because she has the low and this certain overhead thing that she can combo off of. But Vegito doesn't really have that kind of thing. He just sort of keeps you sitting there, unless you have assists up and you can like combo off your 6M or something. It's normally not going to happen that you're genuinely like trying to block a mix from Vegito. I hear he does have 50-50s, but I don't know them. I've never seen them. He's a good character though, trust me. God, my throat hurts. Cooler is also a pretty strong character. He has good neutral, right? Everyone knows 3H goes through everything. He has decent dive kicks. They're not really as good for neutral as they are you set up into them on block to be plus or for combos. But they exist, and I feel like that's important to mention. He has a good air Ki Blast, not a ground Ki Blast, because the ground Ki Blast doesn't really go anywhere. But the air Ki Blast has SSJ Vegeta angle, and he has an air DP to cancel it into. And when you do, he gets to kill you off it because it scales like a medium. So he has good damage as well. He has great, huge normals, and pretty decent frame data for them. Most of his stuff is safe in some way or form. And they're just massive as well. Like his JM is really, really, really big. He has a regular DP as well, so that's always good to have. And his assists are decent. I'm gonna say decent because his DP is really big, but it also doesn't move him forward very much, so sometimes it could whiff on block mid-screen. And it has a couple frames less than the average Teen Gohan or Adult Gohan. So it's kind of not as great on block, but it's still a pretty good assist. The C-beam is really strong because the C-beam is massive, and having a really big hitbox like that that's that easy to convert off is a good assist. And the B assist is alright, but most of the time you're going to be using A or C. He's a good character. The reason no one plays him is because a lot of the anchors right now should be able to mix. He plays neutral very well, but Janemba can mix, Kid Buu can mix, Yamcha can mix solo, Basku can mix solo, Z Broly can mix solo, Trunks, not really, but still. Most of the time when people are playing anchors in this game, they want a character that can mix solo. And not only does he not have that, but his assists are not as godlike as Janemba, as Kid Buu, as Yamcha. So that's really the reason he's not played. He's outclassed and kind of just unnecessary, if that makes sense. Also, another reason he's not played. To get a good safe jump, you have to end the combo in the light dive kick and without using your double jump. So that kind of reduces his damage without assists to extend. Yeah. That's a little bit shitty for him. But he does have a strength of, if you do get like a neutral hit, his damage is pretty good off it. So, like, he has strengths. I went over what I think his strengths are. He does neutral, he does damage. He has good block strings, good normals, etc., etc., etc. Cool is good. Hit is an odd case again, because Hit is very anti-metagame and he sort of breaks the game, right? He might be the single best character in the game at dealing with reflect. You can't reflect hit. But at the same time, hit is a character that even though he can sort of break fundamental aspects of the game, all of his mix-ups are technically reactable. Even though they're hard to react to, right? His resets and all that kind of shit, they're all technically reactable. So I feel like that kind of hurts him a little bit. His assists, again, are not as godlike as some of the higher tier characters than him, and that can also hurt him a little bit. But he's also not very reliant on them. He just simply abuses them very well. So I think that's a strong case to play him. His damage is still pretty good. His neutral is good because he has the JS counter that kills the super dash because you can JL after and get a combo. He has a 5S counter that I'm pretty sure it works on every assist. And you vanish and you combo off it, or you just super. So he's got a lot of great things going for him. Is my music still playing? Yeah, it is. Anyway, yeah, so he's got a lot of good things going for him. But he's not acquainted to the 50-50 meta right now. I'm sorry, I keep scratching my nose. It's just my nose is really itchy right now. Piccolo, I moved up, and like I said, I think Hellzone is strong. In addition to Hellzone, Piccolo has the Orb on Wake Up, which covers all the options too. And you might think, well, you know, Super Dash through the Orb or Reflect the Orb or whatever. But the Orb is a great conditioning tool. And conditioning is good because it forces people to think about what their Wake Up is going to be. That's a mix-up in itself, right? You force people to think about how exactly they're going to deal with the obstacle you put in front of them. And then when they do their option, you use your own set of options to counterplay it. Like, let's say they decide to super dash through the orb, but you just meatied it, and you killed them. Well, shit. That's not going to work. So then they reflect the next time. Then you baited it, and you fucking explode them. You got a 2M starter. And then they decide, you know what, this time I'm going to respect the orb. Then they respect the orb. Then they realize you just crossed them up and did a low, and they didn't even realize what the fuck happened because they were too busy respecting the orb. So, having that orb, even without the Hellzone, is still a very good tool. And I think I underrated him before because I was assuming he was supposed to be played a certain way. And I always did sort of underrate him, but I'm starting to see a couple of good things he has, right? A lot of critiques I gave him was he couldn't get Hellzone on block to get a mix-up. He doesn't really have a 50-50. But if you think about what he's really supposed to be, think of him like Bardock. He doesn't really get a mix. He gets Super Dash plus assist, and he might get the odd Hellzone with a certain team. But what does he really have that's strong? He has staggers and normals. He has the Oki game, like I mentioned. He has good damage because he could double super. He has good support. So he's really, honestly, a pretty decent mid character. Even if he doesn't really get 50-50s or that kind of thing. I think really why he's so low on A+ is actually because of neutral. And I know a lot of people think Piccolo has good neutral for some reason, but he basically only has the Orb and JL. That's all his neutral tools. I don't think he has good neutral. And another thing, he has a DP, quote unquote. He has the little guard point counter type thing. And it's frame 1, but it loses to grabs pretty consistently, so it's really not a DP. It's more like a counter. Yeah. So even though he has it, it's not like a good version of it, if that makes sense. But he's actually kind of a decent character. He's actually got a couple of good things. And, yeah. Ginyu. The A tier was hard for me to order. A tier gave me a lot of trouble because I think a lot of these characters are more or less very, very, very close. But I think Ginyu's non-debatably the best one in the tier. Ginyu has body change. Ginyu has some of the best damage meter gain in the game. He has decent support value. I think A is a pretty decent assist. B is, I don't know what the fuck to call B. C is decent, has high block stun. He's a character that needs to have a two-step neutral plan. He needs to set up his neutral, or he needs to set up his Oki. He needs to set up his combos, right? He's very two-step. But once he gets going, he's very hard to stop because of just all the shit that's happening in front of your face. He's not necessarily a bad character, but at the same time, he gets good damage on hit, but he doesn't get hits very often aside from neutral because he doesn't really have good mix-ups. He doesn't really have like high-low stuff because he doesn't have a low 2L. He doesn't have like cross-up stuff if you're in the corner. But if you do finally get a neutral hit, you probably will do a lot of damage with him. And I think he's very well designed. I think body change is a very good mechanic as well. I think body change is a really, really strong mechanic. Because essentially, thinking about the character, he needs the Ginyu Force to survive. But if you body swap, you take away the Ginyu Force. So you can essentially cripple their team by giving them a useless character for the rest of the game. And if they decide to snap him in to try and kill him as early as possible so that the next character get limit break or something, you can snap him back out on any hit. And you don't even need snap mix because the whole point is I'm saving this character for last because he's fucking useless. You can really kind of destroy teams with this character. He's actually strong for that mechanic. He's not necessarily a great character without it. He has good things, right? Like I said, really good damage. His neutral, not necessarily good neutral, but very good screen control, where you really can't do anything. And then while you are being pressured by the screen control, he can get away with like a 6M into an assist or some shit and then hit you, and then body swap. I think that's this whole character's game plan. The body swap really defines the character, and it's a good design. I like Ginyu, but he's not broken, guys. Beerus, I think, is very underrated, and I was just getting into a talk with one of my friends. He thinks Beerus is fucking trash, and that he's low damage and bad, and doesn't get good mix-ups, and I disagree because I've seen a lot of tech from another one of my friends who has mained Beerus since Season 1, who showed me like Beerus, TODs, and 2-touches, and ways to get mix-ups, and all this shit. So I'm sort of well acquainted with what the character can do, and I've always been interested in the character. So, I kind of have a grasp on what he does. I could be wrong, obviously. I don't actually play the character, but still, I think the character is underrated. He has decent enough normals, lacking neutral, but that's not necessarily a problem because once he gets in, he has great Okizeme game, which that's what I rated Piccolo very high for. He has good damage, which I know you're watching. He gets good damage. All right, look it up. He has very high super damage. He can get a level 2, and his level 3 in scaling is very, very, very good. I think it's almost like Spirit Bomb level. And he's a pretty decent team player. His assists are not that bad. His B assist is probably the best one, though. Let me say this. His assists are not trash. They're not anything more than that, though. But, yeah, he's a pretty decent character. 17. 17's really only issue is that he doesn't get mix-ups very often. His Rekka is not a good mix-up tool. But if you really stop and think about what 17 does, he has decent neutral from the Rekka. He has decent pressure from the Rekka. He builds a lot of bar in his combos. He builds a lot of damage in his combos. He, I think he has high super damage, maybe. Could be wrong. His frame dot is decent, but his normals are kind of eh. So really, he's a very like sort of like how Ginyu works, where he doesn't really get good hits very often, but if he does get a good hit, you're probably gonna die. right? So he's kind of polarizing in that respect. And he also has really, really good A assist. His A assist is outstandingly good. It's a barrier and a block stun assist. Very, very strong. But, yeah, I think he's lacking in the mix-up and block string department because his normals are eh. But he's mostly a good character. Bleh. Frieza, I don't think Frieza's really that good. And the reason is he zones, right? He has good screen control, but despite that, he doesn't really have a way of making you scared of blocking his zoning. Like, Janemba, for example, could zone, and you're scared of blocking it, because if he touches you once, he gets level 3 Oki, and you get mixed, and you die. Frieza does not get as much damage off a neutral confirm as Janemba, and he doesn't really have anything that jails like Janemba. Like, Janemba can do a Ki Blast in a jail. Not a Ki Blast. There's like one other thing that Janemba had. Forgot. But, he can't really, he just feels lacking, right? He feels like when he gets the hit, he doesn't actually do all that much to you. You get a knockdown off the hit, and you did like 19% for a bar, and you're left feeling dissatisfied with your result. Meanwhile, Janemba got a neutral hit off a Ki Blast, and for half a bar, he converted with EX Slice. He brought you to the corner, and he level 3'd you, and now he's going to 2-touch you because he has great Oki. Frieza did like 18-19% with a shitty SKD for a bar, and even if he does a level 3, there's no guarantee you're in the corner to get a mix-up. So, yeah, Frieza's kind of, he's kind of like, I would say he's like Broly, where if you get the advantage, he's scary because you have to find a way to get in on him. But even so, there's actually a lot of angles he can't really cover. Like, if you super jump, double jump, his EX explosion is not going to hit you, like, ever. His teleport only goes a certain distance and doesn't go a certain distance up. He has those little I-beams that cover certain angles, but, again, the reward off them is not that great. And he doesn't even really get mix-ups, per se. Like, you can do something on block, but he doesn't have anything to set up, like, a 50-50 or anything aside from, like, Super Dash, maybe, or level 3 in the corner. So, he's not going to be opening you up for a good hit very much either. Now, when he gets a good hit, he gets great damage, right? Because he has a whole bunch of stuff in the corner that can lead to a lot of stuff. But mid-screen, he doesn't really get that great of, punish hits unless you're going for a TOD, and in the corner there's not really a lot of opportunities to get a punish hit unless you 2H them, and then you don't really get as good of a punish hit. So yeah, Frieza's kind of ill-designed or something, and his assists are not really that good. I don't care what anyone says about his assists, I don't think they're really that good. C is his best one. Nappa as trash neutral. Nappa can barely play neutral. But Nappa is a great support character because of his A assist, and I think he has a decent B assist. He has great staggers, he has great damage, he can build meter just fine. He has resets because of Cyberman. He has a couple more things. He has good frame data. He has not just good staggers, but he can also get really good frame data, right? He has good frame advantage. He can set up a lot of his mixed solo now if you have meter because of the slow level 3 and EX Saiba. And a lot of new things were discovered with him in Season 3 that he didn't really have access to in Season 2 that give him a lot of really, really scary mix. Like, same friend I was talking about with Beerus has a 50-50 off like every combo, and he 2-touches off it every time, so he's very scary to block. But again, because of the neutral problem, he doesn't really get in to do his damage very much. So his problem is getting in to do the damage. His problem very similar to Zamasu, but Zamasu's much more polarizing. Yeah, so Nappa, I think he's decent. I think he's defined as a mid character. He's really supposed to be in that role. You really can't imagine Nappa in any other role than mid because of his just very strong A assist support and what else? And because his round start is very weak, so he'd like to have someone to switch him in. So he's just a very solid mid character in my opinion. Just neutral is his problem. Blue Vegeta, he also has neutral and he also has normal problems. Neutral and normals are this character's problem. Neutral is a problem because you basically only have, if you don't want to spend bar, your Ki Blast and Big Bang Attack. And your Ki Blasts are decent, but they're they're not particularly effective at locking people down because there's only one of them. And the Big Bang Attack is very vulnerable once it's out, because if they just see you doing it, they're gonna run under you and they're gonna super dash. So not really that fun of a risk to throw out. It's decent if you're trying to very easily and cheaply anti-air a super dash, but you can also just JL it with like every character almost, including this one, so it's not really that worth it. Now if you do have meter, he has EX grab for half a bar, and that's much better for his neutral, but at the same time it scales damage a lot and it takes your sliding knockdown. So sometimes even if it's good for neutral, it's just sort of like trash reward. And not necessarily a bad neutral tool. It's just that like he sort of struggles a tiny bit in neutral. And the normals problem, he doesn't actually have that bad of a problem dealing with reflect per se, but his normals don't have very much range. So even though he can stagger using like a Ki Blast for pushback, he has a problem like outranging things properly. He doesn't really have a lot of things to scare you into, because remember his command grab is supposed to catch jump, right? But he doesn't have a lot of things to really scare you into jumping. The most he has really is like using it to fake out an overhead, but because it's blue and the overhead is not, most of the time people are just gonna 2H it anyway. So he doesn't really have a lot of things that would make you want to jump out of his stagger. Let's put it that way. He doesn't have things that make you want to jump into the command grab to make his staggers truly scary. He can technically stagger fine, he's just not scary when he staggers. His mix is good. He has great mix. He's a top 5 mix-up character in my opinion. He gets a lot of good things about that. And he has a lot of like counter options to people who try and disrespect his mix. I feel like that's very powerful. He can also get a mix using not very much block stun, which not a lot of characters can do. That's a very powerful thing. But he struggles because in neutral, he struggles to make people respect him, and the same thing on block. There's really no reason to fear Blue Vegeta on block until he goes for the 50-50. So that's one of his problems. And his damage and everything else is just sort of like average, and his assists are like average, you know? So he's sort of just painfully average. That's my take on him. Tien is actually a good character. I think Tien has a lot of really, really good things, like the unreactable overhead and the command grab. And he's a pretty decent anchor. But a lot of his problems, in my opinion, come from neutral, because he's one of the only good anchor characters that really can't play neutral right now. Like let's look at all these. He can play neutral like a god. 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 That's god neutral. That's pretty god fucking neutral. That's pretty god fucking neutral. Even fucking you. That's pretty god neutral. Like all the anchor characters really are just really good at playing neutral, and he can't really do that. And that kind of hurts his credibility as an anchor. And aside from that, his assists are kind of lackluster, especially compared to, again, these top-level anchor characters. Even GT, his assists are just not comparing, right? I think you can fix TN very easily. Fix TN very easily by doing two things. Give his Ki Blast Give his air Ki Blast less landing recovery, because 7 frames is garbage. Make his ground Ki Blast a little bit faster startup. Maybe even make it like 11 frames like a Majin Buu Ki Blast. But he doesn't even have 4 of them, so it wouldn't even be broken. I would say another thing you can do is, for neutral specifically, let me think. I don't know about neutral specifically, but another thing you can do to buff TN is you can make his EX overhead do a ground bounce so he can combo after it with a vanish. Another great quality of life thing you can do for TN is make the self damage on his supers all blue life, because he gets good damage. But he's also, when he's on anchor, it's non-recoverable. And they want you to save Spark for TN. Because he gets good mix in Spark, right? The Tiger Knee overhead. He has, fucking, the super takes less chunks of life when you're in Spark. But I think it would make more sense to just make it blue life. So that when you activate the Spark, he gets it back. Just makes a little bit of sense to me. Last thing you could do to buff TN, make his assist better. He needs more block stun on A assist. I think he needs more block stun and meter gain on B assist. And his C assist is fine. Fucking, yeah, is A assist having more block stun would mean super dash plus assist. And more general use, basically. I think a hit stun buff would also be appreciated, because it sort of wears down at higher, longer combos. And B assist having more block stun is because it's really slow. You could speed it up as well. Speed it up, give it more block stun, give you more meter gain, because right now doing 0 damage and having it be that slow for only Yamcha block stun is not a good assist. And the C assist is fine. It's just a regular ass 50 frame C assist. It's fine. And then if you do that, I think TN will be even A+. One of the top anchors even, maybe. Maybe not one of the top anchors, but a very good anchor. A much better anchor. But he's actually got a lot of good things, like I said. Krillin, baby normals. He's got miniature normals. That's really his biggest problem. He has decent super damage. He has good mix-ups and setups because of the rock on sliding knockdown. Gets good meter gain on most of his combos. He has really good frame data on his normals. He has great assists. He has a beam and the rock, which are really strong. And one more thing, he has yeah, that's about it. Instantly, you can make Krillin a better character by giving him better normals. I think really all that character needs to be a great character is range increase on a few of his normals and making his ground Ki Blasts at least the ground ones, a couple frames faster. The reason I'd like them to be faster is because it would improve his round start and it would improve his neutral, because they already have good recovery. If they came out faster, he could consistently block super dashes that go through it more. He'd be a lot harder to hit, if that makes sense. I think him not being able to get in is not an issue because he has beam into plus frames, but when he gets the plus frames, like he loses very hard to reflect because of his bad normals. So if you buff his normals, instantly he would shoot up a tier. And it would buff his super dash plus assist too. He basically can't get it mid-screen or even in the corner with a 2L. If he got a slightly longer 2L, maybe, you could buff his mix-ups a little bit. My throat hurts, Jesus Christ. So yeah, I think buffing some range on his normals would definitely go a long way with him. 2Mku. Rip 2Mku, man. He has a lot of great things about him. He has good damage still. He has good neutral still. He has great assists. He has the light Tatsu on block, which is actually very strong. He has the overhead moves, which are good. He has a lot of great things, but they took his 2M. You can instantly buff 2Mku by giving him his 2M back. That's all he needs to be a complete character again. That's it. Because the 2M took staggers, it took spark loops, it took a few combo routes, I think, and it took super dash plus assist from him, and that's very important right now. Not being able to do super dash plus assist is a little bit give him back the 10 frame 2M and the same frame data, and we're good. Okay, we're almost done. And this video is actually longer than my last one, go figure. Zamasu is trash. Like No Kami says, Zamasu's trash. I said he's like Nappa but more polarizing, and the reason is he has a lot of good things. He has Hell Zone on Wake Up. He has high damage, really high damage. He has good staggers, right? He has good normals. And he has a lot of mix-ups too. He has a lot of great 50-50s you could use, but he has horrible neutral. He basically cannot play neutral. He needs assists to do literally everything he has to do, and his assists themselves are not actually that good. So he's kind of like the most greedy version of Majin Buu you can get. He needs the assist, and he needs the meter to do everything. Majin Buu can at least kind of build some bar himself, but Zamasu needs that ready on access. Maybe not the bar, but the assist he definitely needs. He cannot play the game without help. And that's really why he's so bad. He has no neutral. He needs the assist for neutral. He has no mix-ups on block until you call the assist. He has no way of getting anything until you use the assist or help to get it. And that really hurts him. So you can instantly help him a lot by improving his Ki Blast and all that kind of stuff for neutral. I think a good change would be, first off, make his 5S hit crouchers. Make his slices Ki Blast invincible. I would do that so you could have a sort of get-in thing. And I think being able to cancel flight mode into normals instantly, so you can at least, when using flight mode, JL a super dash, make you actually scared to super dash him a little bit, would go a long way. He doesn't really need good neutral, but I think a lot of those things, like a 5S on block, would be very good for him, because him being able to have some sort of solo RPS on block with the Ki Blast, like forcing you to reflect, or letting you just super dash into a 2H and you die. Having that solo without needing an assist to get a hit would help him a lot. So, namely, make his 5S hit crouchers and make his slices Ki Blast invincible. And I think that would go a long way. And I think buff his assist too. 16 is actually kind of good, but he's just shafted, right? He has an unreactable command grab. He has good neutral. He actually has really good neutral because of the anti-air grab, and he has like SSJ Vegeta style Ki Blasts. He has armor 5H. He has Ki Blast invincible EX grab. he has a frame 1 anti-air grab that has a hitbox, like a ground hitbox on frame 6. So he will actually win a lot of clashes because of that. He has good damage. He works with a lot of teams remarkably well, but he doesn't get meter gain. He can't get a sliding knockdown without spending bar, which he doesn't build because of his meter gain nerf, right? If you do the grab slam down, they don't build you any bar. And his assist got nerfed, and his frame data got nerfed and is bad now. So he's kind of shafted. I think if you improve his frame data a little bit, if you let him combo into J2H again to get a sliding knockdown, and if you one more thing about this character.
It'll be a Saturday to inspire. Virtually visit on May 9th at 1 p.m. RSVP now at sunywcc.edu.
I don't know. I think that's it. Let him combo into J2H. Let him get meter gain again. That's it. That's all you gotta do. And make his frame data better, like how it was. He'd actually be a pretty decent character. And maybe buff his assists a little bit. That's it. That's all you gotta do. He'd be a solid character. Goku Black is not that good. He has a couple good things. He has good frame data and good normals. He has a great A assist, right? Because it's beam. That's it. That's all he has, really. Like, just think about it. His damage is average. His mix-ups are trash reward. His neutral is kind of subpar. His other assists are lacking. I think, really, what you need to give this character is a couple of suggested changes. If you make his lariats eat Ki Blast again, just revert his lariats to how they were in Season 1, all of them. 2, if you make his 5S Ki Blast eat other Ki Blasts, kind of like how Nappa's does, how Z Broly's do, how one other one. I'm pretty sure there was one other one. I don't know, but have it eat Ki Blasts. And one last thing you could do is buff his command grab so he has sort of solo mix. That will go a long way, because he's sort of kind of established to be an anchor, but he can't really do it. Everyone else does it better than him. So, rip. Give him better neutral. Give him better block. Give him better mix-ups. There you go. He'd be a good character. And buff his assists. God, his other assists are trash. Now we're almost done. Dumpster fire tier. This is the characters that are fucking garbage. This is unordered. This is not ordered. All of these characters are dirt trash. Don't ever play them. Gogeta. Worst frame data in the game, in all honesty. Most of his mix-ups are reactable. Some of the worst neutral in the game. He has... all of his assists are pretty fucking shafted right now. He's got a lot of problems. You can instantly make him better by buffing his frame data, but aside from that, the main thing you should do is make his 2L 8 or 9 frames, maybe even 7, but I think 8 or 9 is fine. I would like for his 5S to be -16 like a normal ass beam instead of -24 like it is now. His beams should not be as vulnerable as they are. There was a couple other things you can give him. That's about it, man. He would be really good if he had a much faster low. Yeah. And buff his assists. His assists are not that good right now. His B assist especially. Jiren. He has good neutral. He has good damage. He has counters. Good punish game, right? He builds a decent bit of bar. Good assists. He actually could have been a great character, but he can't really mix you or open you up in any way because his normals suck for cross-ups. He doesn't have a low 2L, and his command grab is slow. So everything he has is reactable, and the only way you get hits is in neutral. so you end up doing no damage and building no bar. He's really shafted in just how little he can play the game himself. He can support other characters just fine, but he really just can't play the game himself. And that's kind of unfortunate because I like playing Jiren. But instantly you can make him better by giving making his command grab unreactable. You can that's it. That's all you gotta do. Give him a mix-up somehow. I would make his command grab unreactable and maybe improve his JM for how good it is for cross-ups. And yeah, that's it. That's all you gotta do. He'd be a pretty solid character. Even his assists are fine. Because his ace is pretty good. And Videl. Videl does not have a reflect. She does no damage. And one last thing. And that's it. She does no damage. She has no reflect. Oh yeah, and her buttons are trash. So I think her having low damage is part of the design. I don't think I want to take having low damage from her. What I do want to do is keep her design intact, but buff certain things to make her playable in the game, like the dodge. She's actually very well designed, right? She was designed to stay in your face. That's why they gave her the dodge. The dodge was designed so that instead of reflect pushing people away, Videl stood in their face. The problem is reflect was a key important part of playing the game, so I think it would be the wisest decision to give her a reflect and then a command input dodge like 2-2S or something. They would give her another defensive option and maybe make her more annoying, but also just make her a better character, first off. Second off, the meta is very, very reliant on staggers and good buttons. She doesn't really have those. If you speed up her 2M to 14 frames so she could at least get it in a true block string sometimes, and make her 5Ms more pushback, better frame data, better for staggering, sort of more like cells in a way, I think that would go a long way. And the last thing I would do is actually just buff her meter gain, period, on a couple of her moves, because even if she has low damage, if she built a lot of bar, she could still 2-touch reliably because she has double super, and it would build bar for, let's say, another character on the team that does high super damage. So I think buffing meter gain, giving her a reflect, and buffing her frame data a little bit will go a long way. And she may actually be high tier if all those things are fulfilled, but until then, she's trash. Good lord, this was almost an hour and a half, and it's 5 in the morning. I'll see you later. I don't know what I'm fucking tired. See ya.